Tonight, no rest for some weary drivers aboard Marine Atlantic ferries.
There's never any passenger cabins available, like they're oversold. So this is the issue that we have. Like, it's not like they can't make capacity.
Transportation companies in this province are taking issue with Marine Atlantic rules for escort vehicles. I'm Mike Moore. I'll have that story coming up.
Memorial's Grenfell campus has a higher than usual wait list for housing. And now the campus is reaching out to the community looking for some help.
There are some challenges this year, and if anyone is debating whether or not they're going to rent their room or their apartment, maybe this will convince them to.
It's a good starting point, but not a solution to the problem.
The student housing shortage. That story tonight on Here and Now.
This is not the place to be for haters of beer, or is it? I'll tell you all about the fizzy alternatives brewing in the province coming up.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Some transportation companies in this province have issues with Marine Atlantic rules. They say some of their commercial drivers aren't guaranteed a place to sleep during crossings, and that can slow down the whole operation and make it more expensive. The CBC's Mike Moore reports.
Tractor-trailer drivers are a lifeline to mainland Canada for goods arriving on the island. It's a tough job that requires a lot of focus. The only way to and from is by ferry. And drivers need a solid rest during the crossing so they can meet their schedule and get cargo delivered. If you're driving a transport truck, Marine Atlantic puts you at the top of the list for a cabin. But trucks hauling oversized loads need a pilot vehicle with them. The pilots aren't considered commercial vehicles. That means they aren't guaranteed a sleeper cabin during the crossing. Chris Howlett owns and operates Akita Equipment and Auto Transport in St. John's. He says that's a big problem.
If we send a pickup across, if we can't get a berth for him, he has to get off the ferry then and go to a hotel, go to sleep. And, that's not really the way it should be.
So the tractor trailer can't move while the pilot driver sleeps after leaving the ferry. That backs up the delivery time. Marine Atlantic says commercial drivers can upgrade their cabin, which will accommodate enough space for both the truck driver and the pilot, but Howlett says that doesn't quite solve the problem. Pilot vehicles aren't considered commercial if they're traveling solo to the other side, so they're still not guaranteed a space to sleep.
There's never any passenger cabins available, like they're oversold. So this is the issue that we have. Like, it's not like they can't make capacity.
And Howlett isn't alone. Billy Farrell, owner of Farrell's Excavating, has expressed similar concerns. Farrell said the situation is putting commercial drivers and the public at risk for highway accidents. Marine Atlantic acknowledged in a statement that there is a high demand for sleeper cabins. The company said it will still designate cabins for commercial vehicles, but it won't commit to making those changes for escort vehicles. Mike Moore, CBC News, St. John's.
Memorial University's Grenfell campus in Corner Brook has a big housing shortage this year. Waitlist numbers are up for Canadian and international students. Now the school's administration is putting out a call to the community to consider renting rooms in their homes. Here Now's Colleen Connors has more on the housing problem.
Hadiza Bello is hearing from many students who cannot find a decent place to live in the West Coast city.
Well, it's been a mix of there being some prejudice with landlords not wanting to rent out to international students. I think there's some kind of pest problem. So some of them think international students are the ones that are bringing, I think cockroaches was what I heard. Yes. So they have fears of renting out to international students in that way. Some people think they're not clean. Some people have this notion that they're going to be cooking food from home and might make the property smell some kind of way.
She says pricing is another major factor. Rent is too expensive and going up every year. A one-bedroom apartment is usually $900 a month. For a two-bedroom, more like $1,500.
That's really not sustainable for us students that are trying to go to school, and then we also have to work, so it's just too much on our mental state.
The need for housing is worse than ever, with the wait list for on-campus housing up by about 25 students. The school hired a graduate student to help connect students with roommates and accommodations. It also put out a call to the community to open their doors.
I'm hoping that this may, like I say, sway someone who may not have considered renting to a student. Maybe they do have a room in their house that might not be suitable for a family, but might be suitable for a student who's just moving here to go to university for the first time.
Grenfell campus has more master's and PhD students than ever before. Many are older students with families who cannot find proper accommodations. The student housing problem is a big topic across the country, with Canada's housing minister suggesting the government should consider placing a cap on international student permits. Figures show Canada hosted more than 800,000 last year. They make up 20% of the Grenfell student body. A cap would be very unfortunate. They don't want to go there.
That's my first response, is that international students are absolutely critical, core, foundational to who we are as a campus and who we are as a university. So we want to be encouraging more and supporting as much as possible every international student that comes.
To be honest, I'm very disappointed that they're restricting or not giving students their right to have an education because there's a problem with housing or accommodation. So I think the solution should be finding a problem or finding a solution to the housing issue and not limiting the amount of people that are coming over here to have a better life, to create a better future for themselves. So I don't think that's really the answer.
Vice President Ian Sutherland is dreaming big and wants to create a new student centre across from the campus and call it the Thrive Centre. It would solve the housing issue in Corner Brook for good.
To create a facility that is housing students, that is housing retirees, that's housing for people that are looking to downsize, like a multi-generational place, but one that is at core a place for student and university life.
But for this school year, all 600 beds on campus are accounted for. Grenfell campus administration says that if students are really finding it very difficult to find any accommodations, they will first help them try to find something temporary for the meantime. If that doesn't work, they will consider virtual learning until they can find something and somewhere to live on campus or in the city. And as a complete last resort, they will consider deferring their studies. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
And staying with the housing shortage, the Premier says housing is an issue right across the country and believes the problem is a federal responsibility. And he's promising some announcements this fall that will tackle the problem.
The federal government is seized with this as it is a national crisis. In fact, according to all reports today, it's the top priority for their cabinet retreat. So, obviously it is an issue that is affecting all Canadians. As a province, we're certainly fully seized with it and looking for different opportunities because we do need to continue to grow our population. We need to balance that with the housing needs that are required. You stay tuned for some announcements in the fall and about how we can further tackle and balance that appropriately.
And as the Premier said, the housing situation in Canada is indeed a hot topic for the federal cabinet as it meets today and tomorrow in Charlottetown. While the federal government says primary responsibility for housing usually falls to provincial and municipal governments, the federal Liberals believe there is action they can take. And the immigration minister says restricting international students could be a place to start.
There's no ignoring the volume and the impact that 700,000 international students can be having on housing. It's not the entirety of the equation, but certainly we have to think about the options that present ourselves to us.
Canada wanted to have about 450,000 international students by the end of last year, but instead there were more than 800,000 in the country. The government says immigration is not to blame for the housing crisis, which is rooted in decades of underinvestment, particularly in social housing.
It's certainly been a wet day out there for at least the eastern portion of the province, thanks to a cold front that's moving through. Lots of humidity in the air as well, lots of moisture in the air, and those showers will continue to march further eastward as we head through to the night tonight along that area of, or along that cold front, I should say. So how much rain are we talking about so far today, Argentia? 25.6 millimeters of rain, St. John's area, somewhere around 12 millimeters for the most part. Winterland about 12.2, and then Cape Ray significantly less rain, only about 3.9 millimeters has fallen so far. We do have a rainfall warning in place for the Northwest Avalon as well as the Southwest Avalon. Expecting the rain to continue tonight, heavy at times. We could be seeing rainfall rates as high as 5 to 10 millimeters per hour, and that should bring about 25 to 50 millimeters by the time that is all said and done by tomorrow morning. We'll get into all the details when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, the provincial justice minister says he's neither for nor against implementing independent police oversight. John Hogan made that comment in an interview today. He was responding to statements made last week at a national conference in St. John's. Several panelists had urged the province to move forward with the concept, but Hogan says it can't be rushed. Ariana Kelland has the latest.
On the topic of independent police oversight, John Hogan says he's taking a wait-and-see approach until a new 10-member team in the Justice Department presents analysis and evidence of what police governance systems work.
It's not that I have any bias against it or any bias for it. In fact, I'm neutral on it. I just want to make sure that what is done is the right thing to do for public safety in this province.
The province announced the team earlier this year. Examining police oversight is just one of their jobs.
What does that accountability look like in terms of policing? Who do they report to? Is it a civilian board? Is it a minister? You know, are there other hybrid models that exist that we need to look at? And that's what this 10-member team is looking at.
We look forward to hearing your This panel who spoke last week said the minister shouldn't need any more convincing, that without a commission or board, public trust in police will continue to be eroded. That panel included the RNC's former chief, Joe Boland, who says his attempts at increasing transparency and accountability were met with resistance by government.
Well, first of all, politicians have no role in directing the police force. So let's be perfectly clear. If he's stating that, he's categorically wrong. We do not direct the police force to do anything, nor no politician should. They're an independent arm completely, and we shouldn't have any role in that. So I'm not sure what to make of those comments.
The Premier also challenged Boland's assessment of his departure, saying his emails to government on crucial topics like filling vacancies went unanswered. Ferry chalked it up to the provincial election, when the business of government is largely put on hold.
I also understand that he said that there was some delay in making appointments, and perhaps that was why he felt forced out. If you revisit that time in our history, we were under caretaker mode of government for 3 to 4 months, so there was no appointments being made.
As for the First Voice report, both Ferry and Hogan say they're thankful for the work, but that more voices need to be heard and incorporated into the decision. When asked when there may be a decision on police governance, the Justice Minister said there is no deadline and that the work can't be rushed. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
The microbrewery sector in the province continues to brew up new business, but new types of drinks are now bubbling up. Here Now's Henrika Wilhelm explains.
Across the province, microbreweries keep popping up, serving lagers, stouts, and IPAs. But some are pumping out more than just beer.
We've got a few new things we've been working on over here at Bannerman, one of which is a new line of sodas. So they're non-alcoholic, no sugar, no artificial sweeteners. It's just kind of a fun way to play around with different flavors.
Adding soda to the menu, it made sense, says Maloney.
We only have so much fermentation space available, so just to make the kind of most efficient use of time, if we've got a day in between, transfers and cleaning and brewing, we'll package, a bunch of soda.
What's been popular in other Canadian markets for a few years already is slowly trickling into this province as well.
The soda train is certainly a bit of a trend. I mean, we've seen it done abroad. We're not the first ones to think about it.
And not the only ones either. On the other side of the island, at Pasadena's Western Newfoundland Brewing Company, seltzers have hit the product line.
We are currently offering a seltzer that is basically based on processed corn sugar that we ferment, and it's surprisingly delicious. It turned out far better actually than we expected.
For Jim McDonald, it's a matter of enhancing food production in the province.
We don't really approach anything from what might be considered craft. We see opportunities in the market, and mostly for that it's This province has a lack of food processing, a lack of agriculture, and we want to do everything we can to involve ourselves with those industries.
A lot of the focus has been on beer and spirits, but non-alcoholic options present a new opportunity to reach people who either don't drink or are wanting to drink less alcohol.
I don't think beer is dead by any means, but I do feel like people are, they want lighter beers, or they want, non-alcoholic beers or other non-alcoholic options. So it just makes sense, to kind of be adaptive.
It's nice to have that option in the market. And again, that goes to anything. If people want locally produced soft drinks, then it's a great direction to go.
Both say demand for their beer-free creations is high. They hope the thirst for locally produced drinks, whether beer, soda or seltzer, won't dry up anytime soon. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, children can have many aspirations to become a firefighter, a doctor, or even a social media influencer. But for others, getting to work at a library would be a dream. One young girl in St. John's got the chance to be a librarian for a day, and we followed along as Kalia Seal performed her duties on that special day.
So we have a summer reading every summer at the library, and in the children's library we like to have kids read as much as they can, so we count the number of hours, the number of minutes they read rather than the number of books they read. And for this year and for back in 2019, we decided to do this Librarian for a Day contest to have older kids get a chance to really see what life is like behind the scenes here. And I was very excited to have kids enter this contest. We've had over 100 kids sign up between us and the 2 other St. John's branches. And we were able to draw Kalia's name.
How did you feel when you first knew that you won? I was really excited because I've been when I put my name in the slot, I was really hoping that I would get this junior librarian thing. I go here a lot and I really like to read, so I'm really excited. I'm gonna be behind the desk a little and leading a story time. And before we had this, I was with someone who helped me. We went on a social media and I did some book recommendations for people, and there's a movie that came out, so we put that with some libraries. We ordered it for them.
Kalia is an avid reader and has been coming to the library with her 3 brothers since she's been very young. She really enjoys reading and is pretty passionate about it. So when she had this opportunity to put her name in for the Junior Librarian of the Day, she was excited, but really more excited to find out that she had won. I was thrilled. It was unexpected, and then when I told her, she was really excited and wanted to know what kind of duties she would be having and what opportunities she'd had when she got here.
Literacy from day one is important. So we start reading to kids right from birth up until they're heading off to school, and then continue on when they're at school. And especially during the summer, we sometimes see a slide of kids forgetting things over the summer months. And so keeping up with reading, and with reading whatever they want to read, experiencing the joy of reading really keeps kids going and keeps kids reading over the summer.
My parents used to take me to the AC Hunter Children's Library when I was little, so it's really come full circle, and it's great to see that my children are able to participate in the programming here and avail of the books. I can't say enough about our libraries and how much they contribute to our community, and I think it's really important as they evolve to meet the needs of our community, making sure they're accessible, not only books in print, but of course digital libraries and digital books as well are really important. So I'm really thankful as a parent that we have that opportunity to participate in library programming here in St. John's.
Why is the library important?
It's important to me because reading is like escaping into your own world, kind of, and I love to read. Everyone at the library is so nice and always introducing new series for me, and I just love the library.
Oh, so nice. Well, staying in that same building, actually, the province has renamed the Arts and Culture Centre in St. John's. It will now be known as the John C. Perlin Arts and Culture Centre. Perlin was the government's first director of cultural affairs under Joey Smallwood. He's credited with establishing and managing arts and culture in the province. Premier Andrew Ferry says renaming the St. John's building after Perlin is a way to cement his legacy and make sure his influence won't be forgotten. Perlin died in 2022. Debbie Powers is his cousin and says he would have been happy to see the building named after him.
Well, we're all deeply grateful, but equally thrilled because John deserved it. He worked hard, and what was very nice was here was a man who loved his job, which not all of us can always say, but he did love every day that he spent here.
The Newfoundland and Labrador lost a legend last October in the passing of John C. Perlin. I don't need to read out his obituary, but his legacy is quite vast and strong throughout the social currents of Newfoundland and Labrador, but most striking was his contribution to the creation and legacy of the arts and culture centers across Newfoundland and Labrador. So as we know, many of the arts and culture centers are named for different people across the province, but the one in St. John's wasn't. So it felt fitting to rename the Arts and Culture Center in his honor, given his legacy.
Well, last week, the World Chess Federation ruled that transgendered women can't compete in official female events until they provide proof of their gender change. Its decision speaks to a larger debate over transgender people's participation in conventional sports. Morgan Mills is from Labrador. She's a women's chess master and also the first transgender woman to represent Canada at an international chess competition.
Right now, it seems like the message is just that trans women aren't welcome to play for until at least they've finished the review, which could take up to 2 years, which is a long time to, potentially it's a lot of missed tournaments for, especially for young and up and coming players. Like, I'm less concerned for myself than I would be for, somebody who's just say 17 or 18 and they're just breaking into their chess career, trying to make the decision, do I go pro or do I go to university? What do I do? They missed that 2-year period and we've lost them,
Well, there's still lots of rain on the way for parts of the eastern portion of the island. I'll break all of that down for you coming up.
Time for a look at the weather. And Ashley, the gardens certainly got a good dose of rain today.
Yes, they certainly did welcome rain for sure. I know we've been seeing quite a bit of it lately, but temperatures overall today right around where we should be sitting this time of year, maybe even a couple of degrees cooler. Around 21 is where we should be sitting in St. John's, and we're about 17. But you head towards central west coast temperatures this afternoon. We're right around where we should be sitting, and up across Labrador, cool as well. Compared to your normals, but about 18 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay this afternoon. 19 was the hot spot across the Big Land, and that was in Cartwright. Just taking a look at the current temperatures, dropped a little bit. We're also seeing a tad bit of humidity in the air there. 17 in St. John's, feels more like 22 with that humidex. Same thing for Terra Nova, feels like 24. Bonavista feels like 23, not a whole lot up across Labrador. But as we take a look at what the current dew points are, we can really see where some of that humidity is. So 17 is the the current dew point right now. But as we head through the next couple of days, taking a look at the Muggy meter, we're going to say goodbye to a good chunk of that humidity, at least for a couple days, as we get more comfortable air, more drier air moving in as we round out the week and into the weekend for eastern Newfoundland. The rest of the province has pretty much already done that. The reason for that is where this cold front is right now. Anything to the east of the cold front is where we're seeing some of that warmer, moister air. Towards the west, though, the drier air in behind that. And as that cold front continues to sweep through, we're going to bring that with it as well. Taking a look at the rainfall right now, some lighter showers towards central. And then as far as the Avalon is concerned, not really seeing too much in the southeastern portion of the Avalon, but we are seeing some of that heavier shower activity, mainly for the west metro area as well. And as we head through the next, or at least through the next 12 hours, we are going to see the rainfall continue. So those warnings in place for the northwest and southwest Avalon, again, looking at amount somewhere between 25 to 50 millimeters in total. But if we take a look at the future tracker, just to show you what's going to happen. So we're seeing those light showers now, but as we head towards the midnight hour, some of the heavier rain likely moving back in. Even in the metro area, we'll likely see some of those heavier rain showers. So those amounts could be 5 to 10 millimeters per hour in some cases. Now, exactly where that falls is hard to predict, but at this point, that's what it's looking like. As far as the rest of the island and up across Labrador is concerned, fairly quiet night tonight, just cloudy periods through central. Chance of showers for Lab West through the overnight tonight, but you should actually see some clearing skies in and around Happy Valley Goose Bay and southeastern portions of Labrador. Temperatures tonight between 7 and 12 degrees across the Big Land. The island looking at between 9 to about 15. Warmest temperatures will be east, and those winds will be out of the south, at least for the time being, because as we head into tomorrow, we are going to see those shift to northerly. As far as rainfall amounts go, continuing through the night, probably another 10 to 20 millimeters. Some pockets may be a bit higher than that, but bringing those rainfall totals, like I said, to between 25 and 50 millimeters. Tomorrow, the rain will eventually taper to showers or drizzle through the afternoon, staying cloudy for the most part for central, but your trend will be a clearing one. A few showers popping up for the west coast, and then very unsettled, or at least unsettled across the Big Land with that chance of showers moving through as the day goes on. You're talking about 2, maybe 5 millimeters of rain in total. As far as temperatures are concerned tomorrow, between about 17 to about 21 degrees for most of us. With those northerly winds, though, areas in onshore flow will see cooler temperatures topping out at about the mid-teens max. And then for Labrador, looking at some gusty winds at times, about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour, but otherwise your temperatures ranging from about 12 to 20 towards the coast. That's your forecast. We'll look ahead to the weekend when I come back.
Long before streaming any video at any time existed, Saturday morning was the time to watch your favorite cartoons on TV. At the forefront of many of the most popular shows was Jim Henson, the creator of The Muppets and Fraggle Rock, among others. Now, he died decades ago, but many of his characters live on. Now, one of Henson's cartoonists wants to introduce those lovable characters to a whole new generation.
My name's Guy. What's your name? Alexa? Hi. You like Miss Piggy? She's a boss like you? Okay, I'll draw you Miss Piggy. Do you know I've been drawing Miss Piggy now for 43 years. The reason I draw is to make you happy. And I get to see you being happy right in front of me as I create something. And that means the world to me. When I was very, very little and my mom was working at a diner and she would give me paper and pencils and open up the comics and tell me to draw all day so that she wouldn't get fired and I'd stay out of the way, you know. When I realized I could draw something, make something out of nothing and give it to someone and make them smile, that was everything to me. Oh, here's Bean Bunny, and he started out in the Bunny Picnic. Here's some of the Labyrinth characters. There's Bowie. I'm so happy to be here. You know, flying into Toronto to catch the connecting flight to Fredericton, it was very nostalgic feeling for me because I remember flying into Toronto in about 1983 to see Jim while he was filming a Miss Piggy special over at Channel 9. Whenever I draw a picture of Kermit the Frog, I'm either writing part of a song that Jim sang as Kermit, or many times I'll write a quote from Jim. What's very important to me is that people remember Jim's philosophies and his character, the emotions behind the characters, the idea of inclusion and universal love. It's about all of us being all different. You know, whether you're a pig, a frog, a bear, or a gonzo, we're all different. That difference is what is celebrated. If I can leave anything behind, I want it to be very, very well known that my very favorite drawing, my very favorite Muppet, is the one that I'm drawing for you, and the one that means the most to you. It means everything to me.
Making history behind home plate. Coming up, we'll speak with Carney O'Keefe about becoming the first internationally certified female umpire in this province. We're here at Lions Park in St. John's with someone who recently made softball history. Carney O'Keefe is the first female umpire to receive international designation. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Explain to us exactly what that means. For someone who's not super familiar with softball, what does it mean to have this designation?
It means that I can now travel internationally and officiate at fast pitch softball events.
And you're the first female in this province to receive that.
Yeah, I'm one of 4. There's been 3 men, and I'm the first female to receive in this province.
So tell us how it came about. Why did you go after this designation?
Very stubborn. And you know, you always want to exceed and excel, and when you find something you absolutely love doing. I started out originally for my community, and when I learned that you could travel and level up was what you call it. There's different levels. That was my goal. I wanted to achieve the highest level, and then when you get your level 5 in Canada, the next level is your international certification. So I went for that in July in BC and had a great time, met some really good people, and had a successful tournament.
How much work goes into landing this international designation?
There's a lot of work. There's rules, and there's an exam that you take for the international. You have to pass that first. Then there's a fitness test that you have to pass. And then there's mechanics. There's 4 umpire system, positioning on the field, things like that. You know, you have to show that you know where you're supposed to be in order to make the right call and get the best angles. So they nitpick and make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, because if you're going to be representing Canada at an international event, they want to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
And you mentioned that this was something you wanted to do for your community. Can you tell me more about that? You're from the Shea Heights area of St. John's. Tell me about your community, how long you've been playing softball, and why you wanted to do this for your community.
Originally I started playing softball when I was about 8 years old. Was up on Shea Heights and moved into the fast pitch world. Absolutely loved it. Played senior ladies here at Lions Park. And then in 1995 we moved to the US for a job for my mom. She's a nurse. And I played high school softball down there, and I played university ball down there on scholarship. And then in 2011 moved back home to be with my family here. And I have my daughter at the time was 9. So I wanted to raise her with family here, and got into the umpiring part to make sure that the kids up on the hill can have a game. You know, make sure there's always someone available, because it is hard to get umpires, especially for smaller communities. And then the instructor asked me to start doing intermediate men's fast pitch because I was an adult, and I was terrified. I was like, no, I only want to do this for the kids. But
why were you terrified?
I was going to have to, higher level ball. I was looking to do it for fun, and it was more serious. And I started right away, and I loved it. Going from a level 5, I had tried once before, so I kind of knew what to expect. And at this point, I went to have fun. I didn't put the stress on myself and the strain of, oh, you're going to be the first 5 female, and there hasn't been a level 5 designated in years. And it didn't matter. It was just, I was going there to have fun with my friends again. And I think because I was not putting so much pressure on myself, I was successful because I had a great time. And then same thing with this. If I went in with the thought of, you know what, if I'm not successful, that's okay, because I wasn't successful the first time I got my 4 and the first time I got my 5. So I was going in there to learn and work my hardest, but I was successful, so I cried. It was great. First called my husband. It was 4:30 in the morning. He's like, congratulations. And it was like, click.
Well, that's just wonderful. And what's it like to be the first female umpire to get this designation? Because there's a few guys in the province who have this international designation, but you're the first woman to do it.
It's pretty exciting. It's a huge boost for female officials here in the province. You go to any tournament, there's lots of fellas, all kinds. There's never any hard time to get female officials. It is a hard time to get. The attention I'm getting for myself, I'm not a fan of it. It's like I'm not looking for this attention for myself. I'm looking for it for the females that, you know what, one of these days that could be me, because I'm a mom of 4 and I'm a nurse and I do all these different things, and just because I have all that on my plate, it doesn't mean that I can't attain this. So we're really trying to grow the female side of officiating in this province especially.
Is there any ultimate goal that you have with this? Is there somewhere in the world that you would love to go to umpire a game?
Everyone in the officiating world for softball, the Olympics is obviously a goal. So I'm only 40, well, I'll be 45 this year, so I'm not too old, and I still have a lot of hustle in me. So hopefully one of these days I'll qualify to be on that winning team.
Well, Carney O'Keefe, congratulations once again, and we're looking forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you very much.
In my memories again, I am strolling along, while the birds in the treetops are singing their song.
Well, we will take a step back in time for a replay of an installment in the Our Song series. That's coming up after the break. Well, filmmaker Roger Monder and Shanneyganock's Chris Andrews have taken us to communities across the province for our series called Our Song. They featured the communities that have inspired well-known Newfoundland songs, and tonight we'll take you back to an episode from 2021 when they brought us to Flat Rock, where traditional tunes have helped capture the town's history.
Hi, I'm Chris Andrews, and welcome to Flat Rock, Newfoundland and Labrador, one of my favorite places in the province. We're going to join our good friend Patrick Moran now on the old Flat Rock Hills.
In my memories again I am strolling along, while the birds in the treetops are singing their song, to the place of my childhood through its valleys and dells. I am strolling along on the old Flat Rock Hills.
Well, what I know of Flat Rock is mentioned pretty early on in some of Newfoundland historian writings. Jukes is one that mentions it as early as settlement as early as 1700s to 1800s. Settled primarily again for its proximity to the fishery. Rough spot in terms of a harbour, not an ideal harbour. Again, my understanding is a lot of infrastructure had to be built to make it a safe harbour for land and fish and boats. And the name, of course, the name would come from the geography of the area. People who saw it from the ocean or from on land were, struck by the flat rocks and the hills, flat rocks in the hills.
One of the most popular spots in Flat Rock is Our Lady of Lourdes Grotto, which is built on the St. Michael's Parish Church grounds. In 1954, Father Sullivan returned from France with an idea to build a grotto in Flat Rock. With the help of the community, they began to build in 1954, and by 1958 had completed the site. People visit the grotto from all around the world. Even the Pope was there, September the 12th, 1984. It was a historic day for Flat Rock as the Pope blessed the grotto and also blessed the fishing fleet.
Old Flat Rock Hills. It hasn't been recorded all that much, I don't think. It's a song about, the description of walking through, living in the town, the geography of the community. So, great song.
The Old Flat Rock Hills was written by Jack Dodd, a Flat Rock native who moved away many, many years ago, and this song was reminiscing about his youth in this beautiful place. Flat Rock also has many great walking trails, and the scenery is unbelievable.
And lots of music in Flat Rock, too. Lots of great singers, lots of great musicians, and a place where anytime I've been there to perform on the festival or in the hall, you get a sense that people really value music and traditional song and dance. I mean, it's that theme of getting back home to Newfoundland, close to the sea, close to the hills, walking the old road, seeing the old faces, that runs right through Newfoundland, the canon of Newfoundland music.
From old Flat Rock Hills, oh, why did we part? Here's a health to your people from the threads of my heart. And may I live again to see your valleys and dells, to behold and to stroll again down the old Flat Rock Hill.
A high-risk rescue has ended successfully in Pakistan. 7 children and a man were pulled to safety from a cable car.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
The students and at least one teacher were taking the cable car to get to school when one of the 2 cables snapped, leaving them dangling almost 300 meters above a remote ravine. Military helicopters managed to get one person to safety, but that effort was called off over fears the draft would cause the gondola to fall. After several hours, rescuers made their way carefully along the remaining cable and brought the trapped passengers out the same way. Well, firefighters in northeastern Greece have found 18 charred bodies in a remote area where a major wildfire has been burning for days. There have been no reports of anyone missing from nearby villages. Authorities are trying to determine if the victims were migrants. The region is located near the Turkish border, which is used by people entering the country illegally. The massive blaze there has been out of control for 4 days. It's one of dozens of fires burning across Greece. Experts say the warming climate is increasing the frequency and intensity of wildfires in Europe. Well, the wildfire conditions in British Columbia are improving and officials are beginning to assess the damage. Premier David Eby is visiting some of the fire-scorched areas today.
It is a remarkable thing to see both the strength of people here and the resilience, and also to know how much road is still ahead to recover from what is still an ongoing emergency in this area.
The Premier and other provincial and federal officials surveyed some of the damage from the air as they flew from Vancouver to Kamloops. Their first meetings were with Indigenous leaders and evacuees at an emergency center. They'll be making their way to at least 3 other communities in the southern interior. Several large wildfires are still burning in that region.
we've been in contact with zoo professionals all over the country. And, you know, especially the old timers that have been around for a long time. Hey, have you seen this? What's your thoughts? And nobody's seen it.
Oh, look at this baby giraffe at a Tennessee zoo. Is an odd-looking newborn. It's less than a month old and doesn't have a name yet, but it also doesn't have any spots.
The lack of spots is remarkably rare for these tall, graceful creatures. The pattern helps a giraffe blend in.
Yes, and standing out in the African wilderness is not a good thing when you're trying to avoid becoming someone's meal. According to researchers, the last giraffe with no spots was born in Tokyo in 1972.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cute.
All right. Super cute.
Yep. Looking at the long-range forecast now, I guess we're skipping ahead to the weekend is included in this.
Pretty close.
I'm already thinking ahead.
Yeah, we're already talking about Thursday. You know, it's been a wet couple of days and will be tomorrow as well, at least gray for the eastern portion of the island. But things will clear out, which will be nice. Let's take a look at your Thursday forecast across the province. You're looking at temperatures somewhere between 16 or 17 degrees and about the low 20s through the day. This will be fairly dry air. We'll say goodbye to the humidity for a little while. We're going to still hang on to the chance of a few showers along the northeast coast, but otherwise some peaks of sun. Certainly sunshine through parts of central, west coast, south coast as well. Up across Labrador, hanging on to that chance of showers, though, for Happy Valley Goose Bay and towards the southeastern portion of Labrador. Otherwise, you're looking at sunshine, so 12 to 14 degrees for the north and the west on your Thursday. As we head into Friday, setting the stage for an absolutely beautiful day out there, pretty much across the board, with the exception of Lab West, where you will see some periods of rain move in. Your temperatures will stay again in the mid-teens. Same thing for northern portions of Labrador, but otherwise we're talking about temperatures between 17 to as much as 23 degrees through the day. So speaking of the long-range forecast, I mentioned the tropical systems yesterday, and we're seeing, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in the southern portion of the tropic. So the only one right now that I'm keeping my eye on is still Franklin. That is south of Hispaniola at the moment. And looking at the track of this system, it looks like it's going to weaken a little bit as we head through the next day or so, take a little bit of a turn right, and then head north eventually as we head towards the weekend. So this is Sunday, showing strengthening, a Category 1 hurricane at this point by the time we get into Sunday afternoon. But keeping an eye on it because it does look like it will move into the Atlantic waters. Now, whether we see any effect of this or not is still yet to be determined, but it still bears watching, and I'm going to continue to track that over the next couple of days. So we'll certainly talk about that. Taking a look at what's going on out there over the next couple of days, we're going to see some sunshine Saturday into Sunday, eventually through central and western Newfoundland as well. By the time we get through the weekend, some rain. And then same thing for eastern Labrador as you look into Saturday, and your Sunday looks lovely at this point. Our photo,
wow.
A beautiful sunrise here, this one in Northern Arm. Joanne shared that great shot with us. If you have any weather photos just like this one or similar to this one, you can send them to nophotos@cbc.ca.
Oh, that is gorgeous. And a sunrise, too. We get a lot of sunsets, not a whole lot of sunrises.
Nobody's up that early.
Yeah, that's right. It's so peaceful looking. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for watching this evening.
Good night.